delivery is smooth and they themselves can take on something very important. So all of us listen. I read Front Page Africa. There's been about 3 or 4 stories on the Front Page Africa. I read them entirely. There's one that they sample the views of the people. There are a lot of people from Kakata, Magibi County. The old lady is saying something different. The other intellectuals are saying something different. So, I mean, you will hear people from different walks of life, which is very, very important to do. All right. The former assistant minister, Isiakas, had his own thing to say. Madam Victoria P., marketer in Kakata Magibi County, had her own thing to say. Peter Flomo, senior student, Lango, Lepe High School, Fode Masakwe, all these people, just the sampling of views. So that's exactly what we intend to do. That's what we're doing right now. Let's hear you too. Call us on those numbers: 07777 107, 07777 107, 077 221 223 are the numbers you can call us on to participate on the program this morning. Let's talk to this other person. Good morning. Please walk away from your monitor.
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Go ahead. Welcome. Morning.
Thank you very much. I'm Michael Henry, and I call you from Battersville 1603.
Go ahead, from Battersville 1603.
Yeah, but I listened to the mathematician that just left the line. When somebody says something, I think we all have to, not for our politics. For example, you instituted, or my brother. If you happen to come across the similar case, I had in an area and I left that deliver place and you take it. If any expenditure like you will be making on desk, I think where you will start from, the president is not saying that the past government never paid all the wash fees. The debt that he left, the one he paid. So what a big deal that the president or the brother telling the public that the president saying the truth to us. What really got me constrained in our call this morning. Thank you for listening to me.
All right. Thanks for also making your input. Let's hear from another person. The numbers are 07777 107. Coming up at 8 o'clock, we're going to join the Voice of America for 5 minutes of news. Thereafter, we have a conversation of our guests that will be joining us to weigh in on 2 areas, 2 sectors of our country. That those are the economy and the rule of law. Both men are researchers. The 3 gentlemen are all researchers. Jusu Kamara, the president of Liberia, Mr. Octavian Williams. They're going to be here to share their thoughts on these 2 areas of our country, the economy and the rule of law. Because the reason why I took those 2, to discuss first after the president's State of the Nation address, is that when you talk the economy without the rule of law, business people will feel insecure. All right, let's hear from this person. Good morning.
Morning, Brother.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Aliyu Patikoma. I met the family and Veronica.
I tell you, they made a family. So all the family in the country are my in-laws. Welcome, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was it, brother.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity this morning. Mataya, I want to commend the president yesterday for his sooner. Mataya, our dollar from the others the one of the other will always kind of tell you say or tell the people the president not say anything because my mind all the million there is nothing we can do like I can always say. You don't expect for opposition to always do ruling party where opposition will always do that work. It level the ruling party to do that work. But I want to commend the president because the president talked about my rule yesterday, Mataya. Don't forget from Medina to Rawalspo and the Miss Mark to tell the president was every day yesterday. So the president said a whole lot of things yesterday like we like doing and we pay attention to and someone we follow key like one key in the way meeting person keep it stable. Allow example last somebody say drop it example the gap Mataya everybody know the gap a drop. Where the real barrel $18, $19, 18 down to $17.50. How we can buy right, bring it to my house. So all I think the president said yesterday, most of it was true. So I don't know where we're coming from now, Mataya. But yesterday, thing that above me to see the entire Supreme Court bench yesterday stay off on the sooner. I don't know if the opening of the court, I don't know if they will invite the president and the president who will go there. Because if I want to run our country, Mataya, running our country that they got to run our country together to see how better country will move forward.
But family, a lot of things are happening though. The other side, the Funanti Kofa side is not satisfied about the way the Supreme Court is handling the entire legal system is handling the saga, the conflict, the speakership conflict at the Capitol Hill. So they sort of maybe trying to keep away until they can bring the matter to rest. Who knows? Maybe that's the legal understanding. That's how these are lawyers. They know exactly why they did that for.
So Mataya, it means the Supreme Court trying to tell all they are starting with the Funanti Kofa black, because don't forget the Funanti Kofa black. That's why they receive another slap from the lower court again yesterday. Don't forget about that. And you see what way Mataya. That's what we saying. They have to stop this. They need to be clear with really liberate people. But for you to see the government stay on the student yesterday, and the same people when they happy, people who invite the president, who invite the executive, if the president broke, why our country going Mataya?
Okay.
They have to start. They want to destroy the entire Sudan.
Okay, family. Let's hear from another person. Yeah. Thank you so much, family. Let's move on to another person. We have just 2 minutes now to go. Call us on those numbers: 0777 107, 0777 221 223. Are the numbers you can call us on to participate on the program this morning. This is Sky Morning Live on Sky 107.1. My guest this morning, Mr. Octavian Williams, publisher of the Nation Times newspaper and former vice president of the President of Liberia, the current president of the PEL, Mr. Julius Kanaba, and the spokesperson of the youth wing of the Unity Party, Mr. Jusu Kamara. They're going to be here to talk about two areas of our country. That's the economy and rule of law. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Let's hear you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the topic on the discussion this morning. Thank you to bring the SONA issue up. Well, what happened yesterday about the judiciary not attending the SONA, it is an issue that we need to look at seriously, because it looks like our country is going a different way now. So we need, as we get citizens, we need to take serious steps against it. Let's bring our country together under one umbrella so that Liberia will prosper again. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your contribution on the program, my brother. Bring the country together under one umbrella so that Liberia can prosper again. That's his call to everyone. He said it's concerning that the judiciary did not attend the State of the Nation address by the president. That signals something very, very important for every Liberian to pay attention to, according to the last quarter on this segment of the program. Okay, let's go for the news now to the Voice of America. From the Voice of America, we'll come back. We usher in our guests.
I'm VOA's Richard Green with your worldwide news update. Tens of thousands of Palestinians streamed toward Gaza City on Monday as Israel allowed people to return into the northern reaches of the territory. About 1 million people were ordered out of northern Gaza as the Israeli offensive against Hamas began in October 2023. The Palestinians' return to Gaza comes in the early stages of a 6-week ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that has resulted in an exchange of hostages held in Gaza for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners held in Israel, along with increased humanitarian aid into the enclave. The war started with Hamas's surprise October 7th, 2023 attack on southern Israel that killed 1,200 people and led to the capture of 250 hostages. At least 47,300 people have been killed in Israel's counteroffensive in Gaza, according to Gaza health officials. The Israeli military said the death toll includes 17,000 militants. Violence has put pressure on a separate ceasefire between Israel and the Lebanon-based Hezbollah militant group. AP correspondent Karim Shihayab says he was stranded in a southern Lebanese village for 2 days after Israeli soldiers set up roadblocks near a UN borderline that separates Lebanon from Israel and the Golan Heights.
We witnessed their peacekeeping missions and their efforts to speed up the process of Lebanese soldiers deploying and Israeli forces leaving back into northern Israel. Upon our return, we were surprised to see the roadblocks. The following day, protesters heading towards southern Lebanon had standoffs with Israeli forces. From the headquarters of the Nepalese battalion, we heard lots of gunshots and explosions.
That was AP correspondent Karim Shihayab. This is VOA News. At least 26 people have been killed and more than 100 others injured after Israeli troops fired on protesters Sunday and Monday. Israel has said it would not meet a 60-day deadline to withdraw its troops as part of the ceasefire it reached with Hezbollah in November. The White House released a statement Sunday saying the U.S.-monitored ceasefire will continue to be in effect until February 18th. Nearly 60 senior officials in the top U.S. aid and development agency have been placed on administrative leave. In an email obtained by U.S. news outlets, Jason Gray, the acting head of the U.S. Agency for International Development, said some officials had taken steps to circumvent an executive order by President Donald Trump that freezes all funding for foreign assistance programs. The move comes as U.S.-backed humanitarian projects around the world have begun to shut down due to Trump's order. Denmark said on Monday it would spend more than $2 billion to boost its military presence in the Arctic after President Trump showed renewed interest in controlling the semi-autonomous Danish territory of Greenland. Reuters correspondent Sean Hogan has more.
Denmark is responsible for Greenland's security and defence, but has limited military capabilities on the enormous island, regarded as a security black hole. At present, Denmark's capacities include 4 aging inspection vessels, 1 surveillance plane, and a dozen dog sled patrols. The new deal includes funding 3 new Arctic Navy vessels, long-range surveillance drones, as well as satellite surveillance, Denmark's defence minister said at a press conference. The US military has a permanent presence in northwestern Greenland, a strategic location for its ballistic missile early warning system.
That was Reuters correspondent Sean Hogan. Around 50 survivors joined world leaders Monday at the site of the Nazi death camp at Auschwitz, Poland, on the 80th anniversary of its liberation in World War II. Henry Ridgewell reports.
On January 27, 1945, Red Army troops liberated Auschwitz, the largest of the 6 Nazi extermination camps. An estimated 1.1 million people were killed at Auschwitz, 1 million of them Jews, but also Poles, Roma, Soviet prisoners of war, and other nationalities. Germany now embraces an official culture of remembrance, a duty to take responsibility for the Holocaust. But the anniversary comes amid growing fears over the rise of the far right in Germany and beyond. Henry Ridgewell, VOA News.
That wraps up this update, but the world and news never stop. I'm Richard Green, VOA News.
Mama, Everything the enemy has stolen, oh Liberia, God said He will restore your health, your dignity, even your resources. God said He will restore. You shall once again become the light. You shall once again become the light of Africa. You shall once again become the light. You shall once again become the light of Africa. You shall eat the fruit of your land, the fruit of your land, the fruit of your land. Hey, you shall eat the fruit of your land, the fruit of your land, the fruit of your land. Hey, and never will you be strangers in your own land, strangers in your own land, strangers in your own. Hell, be a hell, mama.
Oh, yes, hail Mama Liberia, sweet land of liberty. Oh, Mama Liberia, this is the place that we wake up every time when we offer prayers. Let's offer prayers for Mama Liberia. Because they say, according to the wise people, they say it is only a fool that goes to bed with his neighbor's roof on fire. So if you think that your success, your individual success is all that you're bothered about, you're not bothered by the success of the nation, then there's a problem with you. Welcome to the program Sky Morning Live. We're 7 minutes after 8 o'clock. Let's start the conversation. We have two gentlemen already in the studio, the president of Liberia, Mr. Julius Kanaba, and the spokesperson of the youth wing of the United Party, Mr. Jusu Kamara. I always like to tag him to Soup, former Secretary General of the Student Unification Party. He can't escape it. That's his home. That's his root. It is Soup that made him, molded him into the fighter that he is today. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Juice.
Thank you very much, Matthias Labendi, and I want to say thanks to the rest of the team here at Sky Communication Network. It has always been an honor to come on the show and have conversation with the Liberian people.
Right.
And I really appreciate the fact that today we have a panel for conversation. The finest and the brightest of ideas that can lead to social transformation of any society is found in the profound cross-section of arguments, and engagements, dialogues that people from all walks of life will have about a state that will kind of germinate into a progressive idea that can transform society. So yes, this opportunity is profound, and we look forward to having a very good show. Yeah. I want to say good morning to my own big brother and president of that bureau.
Are you a member of the PL?
I
saw that you graduated with a diploma or certificate in public relations.
We've been around the president of that bureau. We've been around.
The PL has given you a lot. You should be an affiliate.
I am an affiliate. A video of the fact that we went to school and somehow we've been around the space practicing underground. Yes, but I've not been really involved into the media field opening like that.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, welcome, Jusu. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. President. Good morning. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to form part of your important platform. It's good to be on Sky Communications. Greetings to you also, and greetings to your different audiences, whether through the live broadcasts on the different in the social media platforms or through your own radio platform. It's good to be here. And my greetings to Liberian journalists, media, communication professionals across the country for the incredible work you continue to do. Congratulations. We've been following the media extensively because this is our area, our field of work. And thanks to all journalists who grace the occasion in terms of the delivery or the coverage of the State of the Republic address by the president. It's good that the media is thriving in Liberia in terms of helping to promote greater democracy in our country. And it's good to always to be with you, Matthias.
Right. Welcome. The pleasure is always mine. We're looking at two areas in our society today. There are too many sectors. There are many sectors that we have. But I thought to choose the rule of law and the economy. I think they are inseparable twins that if one succeeds, you must make sure as a nation to make the other one to also succeed. The economy cannot be booming in the absence of rule of law. the rule of law cannot be in tight, and then there's the economy is poor. Obviously, there will be disgruntledness, in the citizenry. So I want to begin with you, Mr. President. Let's start with the rule of law. I think that is where a lot of us, many people, lean their energies towards, because they wake up in the morning, killings and unfortunate things happen in so many areas, and so if those things continue to happen, they will say, well, despite the business investment that I have, I don't think there's security in this environment. What can you say about how the Boakas administration has been able to handle the rule of law for the period of 1 year, maybe without comparing with previous regimes, just looking at the regime itself and who is responsible for whatever acts it's exhibited over the period of 1 year? You have 2 minutes on this one.
Well, the rule of law is a critical sector, and like you rightly said, the economy of any society is dependent on the rule of law, and the rule of law too is supported by the economy. So there is this sort of a symbiotic relationship between the rule of law sector and the economic sector, or the economic as a sector as a whole. The Boakai administration took over at a time when there was heightened political debates in the country. The former governing party, the CDC, has some challenges to the issue of the rule of law. But on the overall, when you refer to the rule of law, we have to be careful in terms of, specifically what are we referring to?
Okay.
Is it the issue of protecting the citizens through the rule of law, or is it that respect for constitutional and democratic processes through the code, for example, the issue of freedom of the press, or is it that the rule of law is enabling the citizens to move on freely to conduct themselves? So governments will come and go, but every government will face a challenge with the rule of law. So the Boakai administration inherited a country in which the rule of law sector seemed at the time not to be functioning as should be expected. So the government has been working to ensure that respect for the rule of law is something that is ingrained within our society. But itself, the government as a whole has got significant challenges.
How has it been working to ensure that there's respect for the rule of law?
Well, the first thing is the budgetary process. In order to support the different law enforcement agencies and the different mechanisms of the rule of law. Because, for example, the judiciary is an important aspect of the rule of law in terms of the interpretations or adjudication of different disputes. The police as a whole is an important sector. The police force is very small. The armed forces of Liberia also forms part of the rule of law sector because they are there to maintain law and order within the country. So there has been not much threat in terms of security of the nation besides the issue of drug. Because drug, like we have the Liberian drug enforcement agency, is another rule of law sector, the immigration sector. So the rule of law is very big, right? But on the overall, the government has been able to maintain political stability within our country in terms of us now witnessing large-scale political violence that will lead to disorder or the disrespecting of the rule of law.
Can that be credited to the government or citizens' comportment?
Well, I define government as the conduct of conduct based on one's column, meaning that us as citizens, we are also government because we are the one who form the government. We are the one that brought about this government in place collectively as a whole. Whether you voted for or against, it forms part of the processes of government formation. So if you take into consideration the issue of the legislature, for example, how the executive maneuver in terms of creating their own speaker, right? Through the majority bloc, which of course is a component of enhancing the rule of law, because to enhance the rule of law, you must be able to disrespect the rule of law. That's sometimes the contradictions.
That may sound scholarly, but many people out there may get confused about that.
They may get confused, right? To know that the law is functioning, you have to test the law
in disobedience.
In simple terms. Whether obedience or disobedience, you have to test the laws, right? So if your rights are disrespected, disregarded by somebody, where will you go? you go through the courts, right? So if your rights are not disrespected, the possibility of you going to court to challenge somebody who has challenged your rights will be difficult. So that's my theme. But I'm not encouraging anyone, right, to disrespect the rule of law. So from sector to sector, the government has been able to bring some form of stability
in the rule of law.
So this will be significantly the first test of the Bawker administration, given what they inherited, and given that we have a clear-cut roadmap now as to how the Bawker administration will tackle the rule of law sector in our country.
Let me hold you when I come back from Jusu. Right.
Yeah, and this roadmap is embedded within the government's arrest agenda.
I want you to hold on the roadmap so that you can elaborate on it more, after Jusu should have given his opening remarks, and maybe while I do some follow-up questions with some of the comments he's going to be making. Jusu, what do you think about the rule of law?
And it is a glaring fact to every Liberian in this country, and even the ones in the diaspora, that basically we inherited a very challenging state, a society that was debauched, if not in all aspects.
Are you just tagging along with what the president of the PEO said?
The president Lee is busy, in accordance from his perspective as civil society actor,
Right.
For me, for the most part, I'm a political person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's the fact that everybody knows in this country that we had a very challenging state, after the administration left.
Paint a picture of how challenging the state was when you inherited.
Well, we're in Liberia, and we saw gross violation of human rights. It led to sanctioning of government officials. For the first time in my lifetime, in post-war Liberia, saw the Solicitor General of the country being, sanctioned.
Let's say about 7 persons.
I'm speaking from that perspective. I'm kind of mentioning
of individuals and the role they play.
The role. Look at the role the individual served at the time as chief litigator of the state. That discredited the entire society in essence. That we had a banana republic. We had a republic that didn't have regard for the rule of law, constitutional order and what have you. But for the most part, one thing I wouldn't do on the show, and I consistently do all the time since the Bawker administration take power, is the fact that we allude to the challenges that we inherited, because it is predicated upon those challenges that bring people saw alternative in us. So yes, the government has been challenged in some aspect, as the president outlined, low budgetary support to police, to the judiciary. But yes, again, the first 1 year was a year of assessment. We have to understand the state from the baseline. We have to understand the problems that the state were being, entrenched with. So to give us a clear picture as to how to roll out, a remedy, a panacea for the solution that these problems or challenges required. So yes, we can say one thing, that the police needs more support, the judiciary needs more allocation. But over the years, money have been going to these places, especially the judiciary. So for me, it is not just the fact of advocating that we should have more money going to the sector, to this key, strategic areas of the state, especially on the side of the rule of law or segment of the country, is the fact that we try to evaluate the efficiency and the productivity of those sectors.
How are you doing that?
Yeah, okay, fine. So it's not really of the fact I will pay judges more money. For me, really, I'm not really interested in this, because as an advocate,
you don't want them to earn more?
No, I'm not really interested in people, earning big money, really, right? Especially in the poverty rag nation like ours. From the economic or social perspective, someone will argue that the more you pay people, especially those judges, it brings about independence. It brings about, non-biasness in terms of carrying on that function and what have you. It gives them, the impression to do more. That could be one argument. But the argument is that over the years, how many money we've been paying these people, and how the system been very, very entrenched with challenges, legacy.
So how do you intend to engage it now? From what angle are you coming from? You talk about paying them more money. You're still giving them money. I think the budget has increased in some way. The police budget has increased. You've touched certain security and rule of law institutions in the country in a significant way through the national budget in your first year.
Obviously,
so you've done that. Yet you're saying you don't really subscribe to huge payment of these people.
You're not getting. It's one thing. I'm not discrediting anybody who has agitated for increment in terms of support for this sector.
Right.
And I too agitate for increment in terms of allotment for this sector. But insofar we're doing allotment, as the president intimated that it should not be a business as usual, where money goes, there should be accountability, and we should see results going forward. So even the police, my own man Greg, I usually say to him, it is a good thing that we all sit on the table, we have conversation with state authorities that yes, the police needs a good support, the police need to be robust, and they need to have all of the equipment they need to do effective monitoring and to instill law and order. It's a good thing. But if money goes to the sector, it's about accountability.
Okay.
It's about accountability.
Now I see where you're going with
it. It's about accountability. So, I wouldn't say you shouldn't pay judges more money, because even REX, in terms of harmonization that the previous administration incurred, in line with those on the benches of the Supreme Court, the current government is paying those arrears. That salary that are harmonized, the government has made a commitment to paying, those arrears. So again, I wouldn't want to say, people should not be payable.
So this approach, Jesus, let me just ask you my last follow-up before I get back to the president. This approach you have exhibited as a government, do you think is the best way to strengthening the rule of law of the country? How is it even changing now?
Okay, so the reason why we call for accountability in the sector is very simple. The police, for example, the police says they need something like 7 million to run an effective policing system, right? And then you give 7 million, and over the time, in the end, it doesn't result into the expected outcomes as we will require as a citizen. So if we get this, for me, really, I support the president. The president came to power. He provided vehicles for the police. And you can see transformation. Today, you go at the national headquarters of the police, you have a biometric system there for fingerprinting, things that were not done in the previous years, by previous administration. There are reforms in the sector, and we are challenged. The problem of security is alarming in our country. Obviously, I wouldn't sit on the show and not allude to the fact that we have some, problems in terms of tackling, if you like, mysterious death or extrajudicial killing in the country. These are challenges that the government has. So, yes, going forward, when we say we're supporting the police should be able to meet the expected outcomes as per the support that will be given to political allotment.
Okay, thank you so much. He's Jusu Kamara. Jusu is the spokesperson of the youth wing of the Unity Party, and he's here with us. He's here with the president of Liberia. Mr. Kanaba, during your explanation, you mentioned about roadmap that the Boakas administration is on, and you sort of, attempted saying that it's a good map that the government has crafted. Tell us about this roadmap and how is it going to help to further enhance modern day rule of law in terms of civilized nation?
Well, the first thing is the government has got its agenda. I don't want to be specific like you to say whether it is good or bad,
right?
Because normally policies are enunciated or articulated by the government, and those policies have got all of the good intentions. But in terms of the implementations and the outcomes of those implementations, those are things for us within the development civil society perspective can be able to look at. So this address, like I said, was an address to set the vision for the country in terms of what the Joseph Boakai administration will do going forward. Because the first address was to state to the country that yes, we've taken over. And these are some of the challenges we've met on the ground. Because by that time, there was just a transition from one democratically elected government and to another democratically elected government that was outgoing. So in this sense, the implementation of the arrest agenda will be now critical to evaluating the Joseph Boakai administration in terms of its promises to the people, in terms of what it has promised through the arrests and agenda for inclusive development. So the arrest agenda itself has been launched by the president, and a critical aspect is this issue, because arrest stands for agricultural rules, the issue of the rule of law. Then you have education, sanitation, and then tourism. So the rule of law area now, in terms of the Boka administration, we need now to begin to monitor and evaluate what the government will do between now and December 2025.
So you can appraise it. You can appraise it at the moment. Even though it's served for 1 year.
You can't. No, because
you can give a fair appreciation of what he has done so far with the rule of law, or until you wait for an additional 1 year.
In terms of the agenda, comparing the agenda, right? But the government has been able to bring some sense of stability within the rule of law sector.
Let me ask some specific questions, Mr. President.
The issue of predictability within the rule of law sector is critical. For example, do we have a mass of citizens accusing the police of being a partisan police? Do we have people who are being harassed or intimidated as a basis of their nationality, to the states, or as a basis of their nationality to other foreign territories? Do we have, for instance, the armed forces of Liberia abusing the rights of citizens? Or do we have the issue of citizens complaining about the judiciary? Yes, right. So these are aspects you can be able to evaluate. And how has the Boka administration ensured that the rule of law sector is brought to some level that the citizens can be able to say, yes, we expect the security forces to respond immediately if there is a crisis at Broad Street or in Lufa County or in Foya or maybe in Grand Cape Mount. So we have to be very much in the clear as to how the security forces or the rule of law sector has been stabilized by the government.
Mr. Kanaba, some comments that are out there in the public, most especially from public intellectuals and some civil society actors like you, are that first, this government embarked on removing people from tenure positions. The government, the president, the executive witnessed the situation at the Capitol building where the embattled speaker now, Fonantikofa, is running from one court to another. All of these things, we went on right in the full glare of the president that is in charge of the arrest agenda. Are you saying that those should be considered now because the agenda was not launched then, but now that it's launched, we should now begin to pay, a microscopic attention on the operations of the government?
No, what I'm saying is that to hold the Boka administration accountable in terms of the arrest agenda, we have to start now, right? Because when the president took over in 2024, the agenda was not in a shape, right, to know which of the sectors they will prioritize, and if so, how would they measure these sectors? When you read the president's speech, or when you listen to the president's speech, what he said now, the arrest agenda is fully costed. Monitoring evaluation frameworks will be in place to know, for instance, if the government is investing in human capital, that is the education sector. How many persons does the government want to be educated within the period of 1 year, where 12 months. So we will have to know that, right? But the previous, services of Joseph Boka to the state in terms of 2014 up to 2022, 2024 up to 2025, who have to be evaluated by the citizens because it was the time they took over. So what have they done is that they've stabilized a lot of different sectors within the country, but the results from this stabilization now is what we can be able to evaluate going forward. Because you don't have a lot of accusations that the police is a partisan police, unlike in the past. You don't have a lot of accusations that the judiciary is a compromised institution. You don't have a lot of accusations that, for example, the immigration service is abusing its power, or the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency. The issue of the removal of people from tenure position is governance issue. It's also the issue of the respect for the rule of law. But again, in politics, politics defines the rule of law. And the rule of law guides politics. So
the government prior to the launch of the arrest agenda performed fairly well with the issue of the maintenance of the rule of law.
I can't put a specific grade because to do so, I will have to really examine against what I'm measuring. But the government has brought some level of predictability within the rule of law sector of our country, and which is essential. There has been this sort of a reduced, level of criticisms in terms of our rule of law sector.
Right.
I know there are some specific areas in terms of, for example, the crisis at the House of Representatives. But do you want to necessarily say the crisis at the House of Representatives will encompass the entire rule of law sector of our country? Or will you want to say that because some people are complaining with the issue of disrespect by the majority bloc, and in terms of the saga surrounding the removal of the speaker who overshadowed the entire rule of law sector? Well, the crisis at the legislature just happened recently. I know it has gone for maybe 4 to 5 months now, and it is still before the rule of law. So the rule of law has not given its finality in terms of the crisis at the House of Representatives. In fact, we just witnessed, like you said, or like some of your callers in the previous said, the justices of the Supreme Court were not in attendance. They have their own explanations why they were not there. I don't know the reasons, but again, it could be in relation to the crisis at the House of Representatives in terms of the legitimacy of a specific individual to be the speaker proper of the House of Representatives. So to do a thorough assessment is to be able to establish some baselines, some measurable indicators to say, oh yes, when the Bawka administration took over from the Weah administration, this was the level of the rule of law sector. And then you define the rule of law, and then you can be able to make a fair appreciation of some of these developments. But what I would say, there has been some predictability within the rule of law sector. That today, if there is a problem with a citizen, and the police can be able to intervene, the rule of law sector, especially the judiciary, you can take your cases to court. The issue of the tenure position, well, I mean, it was again resolved through the rule of law. You just saw the issue of the central bank and the former governor, Aloysius Talu. He was controversially removed. In the end, he went to the court. I'm told that he and the government, they reached a settlement on certain financial
settlement
of financial packages. So yes, the rule of law is working.
Thank you so much. He's Mr. Julius Kanaba. Julius Kanaba is the president of the President of Liberia, and he's here along with Mr. Jusu Kamara. Jusu Kamara is the spokesperson of the youth wing of the Unity Party. We've just been joined by Mr. Octavian Williams. Octavian is the publisher of the Nation Times newspaper, and he's also the former vice president of the President of Liberia. Let's speak to Octavian briefly. Octavian, we are discussing two sectors of our country, the economy and the rule of law. We're about to close up on this one before moving on to the economy. So I want to give you 2 minutes to give your own appraisal of the Bawka's administration in the way it handled the rule of law for the past 1 year. Moving forward, how do you see it as well?
Matthias, what is not done properly is not actually done at all. The essence of change and changes is for improvement. We don't change to go downward. Changes are made for progress, and changes are not made for stagnation or backwardness. The last time I came on this radio, I squarely told you that we were some of the campaigner and forerunners of President Bawka becoming president today. Financially,
you didn't hide that.
Yeah, financially, morally, and innately. So the essence is President Bawka is over 40 years experienced politician.
You disappointed that he's he's not living up to the 40 years?
Of course. I am disappointed, and I just want to hit the rule of law.
That's why I hit it. Let's hear it.
So rule of law, I'm disappointed that my friend and brother Julius Kanaba will be creating the government.
Did he create?
I'm seeing you saying the rule of law is okay, it's everything fine as compared to before. So my issue is
you don't have to contradict the man. He's right here. So maybe if you didn't get him right, you just make your point. Then there will be a point of disagreement.
My issue is, comrade, President Bawka performs 0 in rule of law.
Rule of law.
Yes,
First
zero.
1
Not
year.
just even 30, 0.
Be specific. How?
Oh man, if people have tenure position, if you use executive power on tenure position, what is it? If you have a legislature that is in Canada, do not overlook the legislature.
No, I heard one argument. Octavian, I heard one argument somewhere, and the person stalked me intellectually, and I kept on thinking about maybe this guy is right. The guy said, Matthias, those appointed, whether tenure or not, in whose interest do they work? Say they work at the will and pleasure of the president. So,
do you know why they put tenure to the justices, associate justices of the Supreme Court? Do you know why?
Tell us.
And those not to work in fear and intimidation of the presidency.
So the presidency intimidates appointed officials?
Of course, and that is what, like NEC, and that is what President Salif in her wisdom in good governance term, when interim government president Claudius Sojo was at the governance commission, and that is why they have to make certain positions strategic with tenure. It is not what the president likes. It is not possible for the president to like every citizen in the republic.
So
the
government
performs. Even in the church I'm in, I do not like everybody there. But I work with them because they are human. I have to see them. It is not possible. Even the kids you were born, it is not possible you love all of them the same way. So it is not at the president when the president likes. The country is for these people. It is not for the president.
How has this failure of yours that
the country for the people is not for the president? The president is an employee. Of the citizens.
So let me ask some specific.
And that is how we get it wrong.
You just put a grade, openly regarding regarding the rule of law.
I'm giving you
right. You're breaking it down from sector to sector. Now you talk about specifically, but you just said entirely the government school 0.
Yeah. So I'm surprised.
How is this? No, I'm coming. Let me ask the question that it'll give you a chance to flow. How is this failure of yours that you are presenting about the regime? How is it affecting the citizenry? In which angle? Are people going to bed in fear? Are people being attacked? Give some specifics of how the nation is pictured.
Are you aware that 2 weeks ago journalists were intimidated and Julius Kanama, on behalf of the press union, as president, wrote a statement that those journalists were intimidated? Are they now the odds day of former President Charles Taylor resembling, coming gradually or creeping? Are you aware when the rule of law is being tampered with, we will not have investors? When lawmakers are being flocked on Capitol Hill, on all of the executive, with the IG of the police, the director of police, pressing the trigger, taking sides, quote unquote majority and minority, and you flock the minority.
Is this not?
Are you aware that investors will not come?
Allegation you're leveling, or
allegation? You they see
the IG took size.
When my IG took that, the IG just wrote the quote unquote speaker representing the Queen to take Nantikova and friends over. They say, how do you call it?
But how is that a sign? If an investigation is conducted through a security, this is a security man. He conducts investigation. The IG.
The IG conducts security man, not just security man.
Oh, that's your word.
Yeah. No.
Those are your words.
The reality.
But how is it compromised?
Of course.
I don't want us to use the show against allegations against people without facts.
Give me time to substantiate my
I didn't ask you to come late. You came very late. You did not apologize.
I'll monitor. Yeah, I have monitored the sizes before.
Go ahead.
Right. So this is it.
Right.
If Matthias and Octavian Williams are having confusion, in heated confusion, Julius Kanamba should be the one to settle the pace.
Because he's the president of the P
and Julius Kanamba knowingly, wakefully, intentionally went to Matthias' side, and the both of them hitting me on the wall. Is it not taking side?
How does that apply to the Capitol building saga?
Rachel Kuhn and Fanatikova, they are in confession. They are sides. The Capitol building has been rebelized. In this case, Rachel Kuhn is claiming speakership. Fanatikova is saying, I will not resign. And that's the reality. The men are saying that I'm the legitimate speaker, I will not resign because I was elected in the process to remove me. Not met. You wrote this man, Kuhn, and say, Kuhn, I won't represent the fanatic. You're not calling speaker or in battle speaker or any way you can, any nomenclature you could give it. You say, I won't represent the fanatic over to be turned over to me for investigation. What do you need? You need ragged scientists to know that someone have already taken side. The police have taken side. The police have intimidated journalists from the Daily Observer newspaper for 3 days to write statement how they got a particular story. Is it not intimidation? Is it not, coercion to the press? We're sleeping. And I said this on the radio, I'm going to repeat it. We as Liberians, we are very good in making leaders to turn to dictators. How do we do it? When the leaders are having missteps, instead of us pinpointing the missteps, we glorify them. So the leaders turn to be dictators in split seconds because, as far as concerned, we are glorifying something that makes no sense that they're involved in.
Octavian.
So on the rule of law, I grade the government 0.
Thank you, Octavian. You've made your point. Jusu, let me close up with you on this, on the rule of law issue. Let's move on quickly to the economy so that we can zero in and hear from the public.
I think one of the essences of having a kind of moderated platform for conversation of this nature,
right,
it's not really for hallucination and the blowing of hot air. It's about giving a clearer perspective to the Liberian people to understand what is obtaining.
Octavian blew hot air?
All of the
he hallucinated.
If you ask the,
are you offended because you work with the government? You are the spokesperson of the youth wing of the Unity Party.
I'm not offended, but
your description of his of all that he said, he hallucinated, he blew out hot air, and and so on. Why would you come hard on a man like that?
Because we share a table.
Okay.
We share a platform. And this platform is meant to be.
He's deviated from the
entire
essence.
platform. Is
I don't need to talk to him, Matthias.
No. I'm the moderator. Yeah, go ahead, Joseph.
Yeah, if care is not taken, it might degenerate the platform. But again, people have the right.
What are your disagreements
on all of the issues?
Everything. The government did not score 0 in rule of law.
You cannot sit here and not having an understanding of what the separation of power looks like. You've not read the basis of politics that talks about the separation of power, the doctrine of separation of power, and then you sit on the platform, ask somebody who attempted to give an information to the Liberian people, and then try to deviate. Whatever happening at the legislature is a legislative maneuver, it's legislative politics. The executive has nothing to do with that.
Right.
You cannot already sit on a show that the president or the executive is involved with the political maneuver. In fact, we have to understand, Otami has been here for a very long time now. Experience to speak in accordance to what you have seen in this country. The horse of legislature is a political ground. So obviously, like Julius intimated, politics is law. In law itself is politics, So
politics sometimes determine
the same decision,
right?
The same people who elected Fonanti are the ones that say that we don't want Fonanti, and they took a situation with him, and in the end, it is where it is today. It has nothing to do with the executive. And on the other hand, it may say that
the tenure position. No, Octavian, please protect.
No, I'm not man. You call me Octavian. I'm man.
Okay, yeah. I reason with you. Let's maintain. Right. No, exactly. No, I reason with you. No, you said it. It's okay. Let me handle it. No, let me handle.
I take that back.
Okay.
Out of the sense of maturity, and for me, really, this platform should be moderated, right?
It's moderated. I don't want you guys.
I come in. Nabendi.
Right.
I wouldn't want to sit there and say that we should have the platform well, managed decently, and then I try to deviate. If I deviate myself, we'll take it back to that.
No, you've taken it back. So you read an apology to him.
No, it's not a matter of apology. I take my words are saying.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is that the tenant positions, all of the tenant positions, nobody was already taken from here like that and say, oh, my man SYC go and replace. The president made a decision. They went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court had a ruling. And the ruling said the president did not have the right to appoint people while other people serving. So the president went by the president got constitutional power that talks about to take administrative decision. It is described in the Constitution. That's the right of the president. Those in executive work for the presidency, and they are in no way.
Wait. The administrative decision is contrary to the Supreme Court ruling.
Supreme Court ruling. We'll go back. We'll go back in house. We understand your stewardship from the institution you've been serving.
Right.
If we understand that over the years you've had some misconduct and what have you, based on those misconduct, the president can make decisions. That's the constitution of the country.
Okay.
Otavian needs to understand that. So if the president made a decision that is administratively a power that is granted to him by the president, by the constitution of the state,
right,
how can you call that a predation against the rule of law?
Okay, Jusu, let me hold you there now. Let me inform the public that we are having a very interesting conversation here this morning. Mr. Jusu Kamara Jusu is the spokesperson of the youth wing of the Unity Party. We have the president of Liberia, Mr. Julius Kanaba. We also have the publisher of the Nation Times newspaper and former vice president of the president of Liberia, Mr. Octavian Williams. They're here talking about two sectors of the country, Liberia, the economy and rule of law. The gentlemen have dealt sufficiently with the rule of law. They all have provided their own perspectives. Let's talk briefly, at least for two minutes, because once you discuss the rule of law, I think you can easily, look at the way the economy is flowing. This time, Octavian goes first.
Matthias, don't give us a hard time. Nobody will come here.
Zero again?
Yeah, don't give us a hard time.
The economy to that zero?
Do you have investors here?
So where's your analysis of the economy is all about investors?
No. I come in.
Octavian, sometimes when you engage, anyway, I don't want to tell you how to go about it, right? No, just a moment.
Yes, give me time.
I don't want to tell you how to go about it. Okay,
you know how to direct me.
No, honestly, just go ahead. No, go ahead.
You want me to be pressing over Joseph Boakai money?
That's not why I invited you.
I will be misleading him. The best thing to ever do to people is to look in their faces and tell them hard truth.
So the government scores 0 to
listen to me.
Economy.
How many investors we have had for the past 1 year? You think when economy is booming, is that you must say they will pay PUBU and PB taxes? The economy? No. You have to attract foreign investors. How much is the rate today? When Burger King, where was the rate? And why is the rate claiming by the day?
The rate was lower.
How many prices have been put down?
No, deal with some of the things. The exchange rate was lower than it is now.
How was it?
No. Was the exchange rate lower than it is?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. You pour 400.
One of the colleagues on the table will
count 409 persons down from Central Bank. You say you cannot pay them, but the man who was ill politically was paying them in governance. To take off people from salaries that they made for 6 years, it's a political manner for you. Political manners.
Okay.
And those people are
and that affects the economy.
Of course. One of those persons at Central Bank, one of them, 5 persons were attached to them to live and eat. Of course. How the men that are politically ill-filtered that we all criticize. I came in the studio and criticized President Weah before.
Right.
Before he left power. I'm not reaction or I'm a seditious. I'm not a United Partisan. I'm a patriotic Liberian.
But you supported Boakai's election.
Of course. And that is why I'm critiquing Boakai right now. I'm not one of those Liberians that support people and believe that if you critique them, it means that you hate them. And anybody that believes that something is wrong with him.
So the failure of the economy is affecting the layman down the street, down Waterside, down Raleigh Town, and so on.
And the spokesperson of the Unity Party, youth wing. My brother, I'm going to say again. If you have confusion in a home with the mother and father, and the uncles and aunties say no, I be both at mine, let it be fighting. That home was trouble. So now you have noise. You think why people go in Ghana because Ghana is stable. You go to Ghana playing, you see plane going off and coming down like that taxi. Because Ghana is stable.
Because our economy is not booming.
But if the place is not stable, what do you expect?
What is causing the instability? Is it the rule of law that you mentioned?
The rule of law.
Okay.
If an investor believes that a lawmaker who was elected by his people could be flogged on Capitol Hill on the order of the executive, a Liberian man, you think that investor as a foreigner will be brave to come invest his or her money?
What can you recommend? I'll give you a chance to recommend in just maybe for the 5 seconds. How can the government revive the economy? What are some areas that it should look at quickly in ensuring that there's revival in the economy?
For any economy to be good, the first step is rule of law. Rule of law.
And you already say the government scores 0 on that.
If the Supreme Court ruled and said you in error, we take you position. Last time I told you, the government, the party itself is owning money itself. Each one is the Secretary General of the United Party. And it is clear in plain view doctrine that you cannot be the Secretary General of the United Party and occupy a position. You had an Assistant Secretary General of the party. The ombudsman went to court and said, what you're doing, you're violating the code of conduct. If you challenge the ombudsman, what was the responsibility of the president? Is it possible that you hold Jesus Christ, you hold devil? Is that possible? So the party itself is owning money, its own regime.
Those are not your recommendations, are they?
No, I'm coming with my recommendation. The basic thing is,
I'll give you a time frame, so you have to speak into
let the situation of rule of law be clear.
Okay.
President Bwaga has compromised the rule of law and must be frank with it.
Okay.
You have the regime. You call police. I listen to the radio of my friend Judah Kanama and say, police are flogging people. Who told you not flogging people? Judas. Go to the protest. Go back to that protest clip. Before a police flog one citizen, there must be a strong, strategic, and repressive force that the police have to react to. And the force must be what? Proportional. What did the protesters do? What did they? It is the constitutional right for any individual to protest, but the protest must be peaceful.
Okay,
and that protest was peaceful. Peaceful. And go see how many presidents. Listen to me. In 1 year, President Bwaga had political prisoner. In 1 year time, he broke down the fabric of the rule of law. And so.
Oh, Tavin, I gotta hold you there now. Let's hear from the president of the President of Liberia. We are now on the economy, sir. I'm very sure you're very magnanimous with the time. You can take at least 2 minutes to see. You can sum up what your take is on the economy. Maybe you might want to just interchangeably mention the rule of law and the economy at the same time.
Well, the first thing is we have to be clear, and sometimes when we are speaking, we have to listen to each other, right?
Right.
And like you said, Otavi makes a lot of accusations, saying that I said, for example, that the police, has not flogged anyone in the Republic. I did not say that on the show, right? He mentioned the issue of the calling of Daily Observer and some other media entities, the police, or some episodes between police and journalists, and as his measurement of the rule of law being 0. No, it's not my interpretation, right? The issue of the observer happened just recently. For example, the Joseph Walker administration took over from January 2024. And if something happened in December or January of 2025, and Otavian is saying on reflection that the rule of law has broken down, that's his own perspective, right? The issue of the tenure position, like you said, if the rule of laws in those sector was not performing, why did people go to the court and they got a favorable ruling through the judiciary, which is one of the epitones of the rule of law sector of our country?
Could it be that he's mistaking political will and rule of law?
No, he breaking different issues and mixing them together.
Okay.
He has his perspective, which is good for our democracy.
Absolutely,
right? So people whose positions were threatened as a result of the president's action of replacing them, what did they do? They went to the very rule of law. They got a ruling that was favorable. They came back to work, and the president again used another maneuverings, like I said before, to suspend these people. What did they do? Some say we cannot go again to the rule of law. We will just leave the job. And there are people, there are instances
that did not violate their rights in any way.
Some are still challenging. Well, for the rule of law to for the rule of law to work, you must have a predictable institution. Right. And the issue of arbitrariness in executive power, right, is something we've spoken of. For example, if the president is arbitrary in his action, and how many sectors were really affected that can you say that the president, suspended everyone or dismissed everyone who were heading, quote unquote, tenure positions in the country? I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure of that. For example, the lady at NAFA, right? I mean, the person who is heading NAFA, her position was threatened.
We heard about the raw phone lady as well.
I mean,
there were
so all of these things. I mean, there are specific instances where you have to be careful as to how, because if you say the government fails zero, right, in the rule of law, you and I would not be sitting here because the country will be in the total chaos or disorder. That's the first thing. The issue of the journalists, I mean, there will always be, I mean, even in bigger advance in the democracy, there will always be
Trump is always attacking
the rule of law.
journalists. Right?
For example, we see
right.
like killings in America. People are killed almost every time in America as a result of gun violence, right? Will you say because of that gun violence, the entire rule of law sector is down? No, I personally will not say that. Will you say that
just
because
touch the economy, please?
Let's
move on.
That because President Trump, for instance, or Biden, for instance, said this person should not serve on a tenure position, will you say the entire system of the rule of law has broken down? I will not say that, because the rule of law constitutes the different institutions and mechanisms that are meant to ensure predictability. Do we have a sense of predictability in Liberia that if my rights are violated as a citizen, I can count on the police to intervene so that my rights can be restored at a certain level? Yes, and I said yes. So the issue of the politics will always happen. Otavin covered the legislature. I mean, he knows that Speaker Snow, there was controversy. He knows that Speaker Alex Tyler, there was a controversy. And those controversies, the executive as one branch of government who always have their side. The executive wants total control of the legislature and of the judiciary. So when those institutions, the guys who are in those institutions, the individuals who are appointed, they stand their ground, I mean, the system is working, right? So I will not, right, as an analyst, as a Liberian, and as somebody who understands governance, I will not pinpoint to a zero performance in any sector of our country without giving you the tangibles from January to December.
Let's talk.
So on the economy,
right?
The economy, like you mentioned, relies on different sectors of our country.
Right.
Otavin says because the government has not been able to attract investors, in his words, it means the economy is zero. Well, that is inaccurate. The government, since Liberia emerged from civil war, has attracted a lot of investments.
No, and now after the civil war,
I'm coming now. I'm coming. Right.
I think he's referring to this government.
Yeah, Otavin, just listen now. Since Liberia emerged from civil war, right, the country has attracted investments.
Right.
Those investments are functional in Liberia. You can't, for example, bring new company to give Firestone's investment. Firestone will always control the rubber sector of our country. You talk about the Western cluster. Those companies, they've been here, I think, from Madam Salif Dam, the Chowshuey Atam, they will still be here.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about other areas, right, of investment within the country. Those companies are always here. So
does it mean that there's no need for us to attract new investments?
There's always a need, right? That's why.
But that's Otavin's point. The fact that this government that bragged about experience over the years, 40 years of experience, the head of the country, 40 years of experience, but now in 1 year time, who should have seen, companies coming, businesses and things, economy booming because of their international connections?
Well, that is for the government to clarify as to how it is going about with the issue of the attraction of investment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one of the investment areas that the government has been able to attract, which of course all of us know of, and it just recently, is the issue of the MCC. Right. If the rule of law sector is dysfunctional, right, the U.S. government, one of the key indicators of giving you resources under the MCC and the mechanism is that you must be able to ensure that the rule of law is functional to a certain degree. That's why they have from 0 to 100. Like Otavin gave a score of 0, right? So Otavin and the U.S. government, they are differing on the issue of
we're not differing. The MCC
no, Otavin, please. Let's not do this, man, please. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, so Otavin and the U.S. government, they are, for instance, differing on the issue of the rule of law. Because Otavin is saying that
so the U.S. government sort of, consider
there are different dimensions of governance that the U.S. government looks at to fund governments around the world.
Okay.
Just for example, President Trump took over. He has suspended all foreign assistance development programs around the world.
Right.
In Liberia, the USAID, the USAID that we call normally
USAID,
USAID,
yeah.
they've stopped operations working with the very media sector, working with civil society sector, the education sector, the health sector. So that's another conversation, right? But the issue of the economy, to measure the government's performance on the economy, us as ordinary people, we look at the rates of inflation, for example, the increase in prices. How much, for instance, do you pay for gasoline now comparing to maybe 6 or 12 months ago? Right? How much do you pay? Has there been some reduction, for example, in petroleum pump prices? Then we look at the issue of what we call the staple food, rice, for example.
Increase.
I mean, what is the level of increment in the prices of things around the market? The issue of the rates, I mean, there will always be fluctuations in the US rate. Like the central bank said, during the festive season, there is a possibility the rate might decline, good, or a possibility it might increase because we have this sort of a dual currency mechanism that we have in place. And then if you want to measure the government's performance on the economy, right, you look at the issue of unemployment. What rate did the Boka administration meet?
I mean, there are too many specifics we need to consider. Right.
You have
right. Too many specifics we need to consider. Right.
Because if it says 0, right, how about people who are working in the different sectors of our economy? Right. Is the economy challenge? I will be the first to tell you, yes, I'm a student of economics, right? There are many people in Liberia who are struggling to survive, to get the daily ends meet. In the president's address, he talked about the issue of the bread and butter. And it is the responsibility of his government to ensure that he improves the livelihoods of the people.
Okay.
If not, as Octavian said, in 2029, the next electoral cycle,
okay,
if the government does not perform, another group of people will be given that particular mantle of authority to govern the country. But like I said, the Boka
0 is not the number to give.
To do an evaluation, you have to be specific.
Thank you so much. He's Julius Kanaba is the president of Liberia. Folks, I must tell you, this morning we are going beyond. We are taking at least 15 minutes into, 9 o'clock so that we can be able to exhaust and at least have a conversation with some of our listeners out there. Jusu, you're the last to speak on the issue of the economy. Yeah, and please, I don't want you to be putting timing in the box.
No,
all right.
I come in. If you like, Matthias, economics. One of the reasons why we social scientists, we call economics as the model science of the social sciences is that it has if you like a natural science component, that is mathematical and something that is research and if you like data driven.
Okay.
So if you want to talk about sector of that nature, it means that you might have done some research you don't just sit and talk. At least you point to the indicators of macroeconomic stability, or employment, the issue of GDP growth, the issue of inflation. Then look at inflation.
So what do you have?
Then look at inflation. We took inflation at a point of double digit, 10.1. Currently, it stands at 7.7. By the end of the first quarter, we'll be hitting around 6%. That's a whole 4%.
I mean, why are you speaking like the finance minister? How are you so certain that by the end of the first quarter it will drop to that level?
Go read the World Bank report.
Okay.
Read the World Bank report. Read the World Bank report. For me, we sit on the radio, we got responsibility, about the things we say to our people.
Okay.
And as a matter of fact, the press now is getting more, if you like, robust in terms of fast checking.
Right.
You people can do fast check on this day on
absolutely.
So we took the GDP of the country from 5.1%, 5.1 billion in 2024. And we ended at 5.3 billion, as it stands currently. We were able to increase in terms of growth to 5.1%. It was at 4.6% when we took over in 2024. And currently it stands at 5.1. And this 5.1 digit will be, if you like, achieved at the end of the first quarter of this fiscal year. So in terms of fiscal discipline, the government has managed to institute some radical reforms, if you like, you can see the arrest agenda. In the arrest agenda, another component of our document that was signed
the launch of that arrest agenda is a whole new policy for that's kind of review the entire executive in terms of benefits. That will be going to ministry, agency, and SOEs. So the current in terms of cutting waste, the current that you have to all of these institutions in terms of benefits, as in gas, scratch card, the government is proposing over 50% cut to be able to save the country some money. As we speak, people harmonize people's salary in this country. People harmonize people's salary in this country. In less than a year, the government came out with a full panacea as to how to do rectification, in the civil service, targeting specific people, teachers, nurses, and the police. You did not put money on people's salary. We are doing that. You took money from people. We are giving money back to the Liberian people. Okay. These are the things that happen. And on the other hand, you have to understand the nature of the country we inherited. In 2023, World Bank reported that the country was plunged into 300,000 multidimensional poverty that was created by the last regime. You can go and do a fast check. So you expecting a government of less than or a year in power now to be able to change the narrative of alleviating that over 300,000 persons from multidimensional poverty.
Let's engage the public now. We'll come back again. You gotta use it. All the comments.
I think it's for 2 minutes. I'll look at my time.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll look at my time. So you also look at panel's commitment to the sector. What's happening? You just spoke about the compact. People have to be less emotional. It's the state that we're talking here. This idea. It's not about hallucination and blowing out there. Listen to what we have here. So you for the million given to the government by the World Bank in terms of our monetary support, and we were able to secure over 210 million from the European Union as a grant facility that will last from now to 2027. Look at panel commitment to the society. You could not achieve these things in the last administration because these people were not disciplined, because they were mismanaging the state, especially the fiscal arm of the state. So you have a region that has brought credibility back to public sector, especially in terms of fiscal management. Minister Gaffouin is turning things around, and you can see that they are being reflected in the increment of the wages of teachers, nurses, and police. You did not achieve these things. Then you said the economic score is zero. In terms of investment, to zero down on this. If you talk about investment, category of investment, right? It could be foreign direct investment. Ethiopia Airlines came back to the country. That's a way of raising money back for our country. These things are not happening in the last administration.
Gentlemen, we have to do justice to the public and engage. I'm not giving you time now. You have to hold on, put your thoughts together, and then during the closing, you can do that, please. Let's kindly consider turn their mics off. Only my mic should be on at the moment. So call us now on the numbers 077777107 07777. Let's talk to the first person. Good morning. We can listen to them so that you can be able to respond. Yes. Okay, that person left the line. 077777107 07777221223 are the numbers you can call us on to participate on the program this morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Matthias.
Good morning, sir. We have just a few minutes to go. We have to go quickly. 30 seconds.
Okay. William Harris.
Mr. Harris, go ahead.
Thank you for the program. Matthias, what we see, my man, you are going to speak to. We're not letting. Otabi, we're not in studio. They're talking where they are. He voted for the rescue train. He put left on the ground. Otabi was insulted for the rescue train. Today, Otabi speaking the truth. Now you're combating you now. You're not voted for the 49. Where he's speaking the truth.
What kind of truth you talking now?
To the president now. The president, the FBI director, the money director insulted you. Good. What action will the president say? I want to listen to you. Thank you. The money director, FBS.
Okay, managing director of LBS. Anyway, I don't understand that story. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to the big brother that is here.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Ali Padikomen family.
Go ahead, sir.
Mataya, let me say good morning to my big brother Otabi. Otabi, a whole lot of Otabi. Otabi to stay on this TV. They say the government can't power, the government has not done anything. And when we must start my Ali Padikomen family, I'm believing we are going to do that Otabi. No one is saying the government 100%. The government has some challenges, but if the government knows to do as a political analyst or journalist, according to you, I think you got to be truthful. Like I said to you yesterday, there is no way the government will call you for any question because I know.
Oh my man, stop that! No, don't be trivial with the man. Because the man making his point, it means that he wants job from the government. Let's move on to another person. Good morning. Let's talk to at least 4 or 5 persons and just call it a day. The numbers are 07777 107 221 223. The numbers you can call us on to participate on the program this morning. We have 3 young intellectuals in the studio here this morning. All people who are controlling the various sectors. The publisher of the Nation Times newspaper is Octavio Williams. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the voice of Bolivar Roger to join the conversation from where you feel committed this morning.
Mr. Rogers, go ahead.
Yeah, listening to the panel in the studio, choosing to talk about the government being able to reduce inflation up to 7%. But what powerful me here is that inflation has been reduced according to the report, but now the exchange rate is 198 to $500.
Okay.
I came $5 this morning for now and $90. So now the rate is 198 to $1. So what this is the inflation has been reduced, but these prices are not commensurating with the reduction in inflation.
Okay.
So
thank you. Let's talk to the last person. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Big Brother Matara.
Good morning, sir. Let's hear you.
Let me say good morning to your TV studio again.
Let's hear you, sir.
My name is Momo Fore, and I call you from Zoo Community Samadima Village.
Go ahead, Momo.
Thank you for your talking point, Matara. Let me say thank you to your TV studio again. Matara, let me say this. I think my brother Otapi have not doing justice to the Labrador people.
How?
You cannot stay in this country for almost 12 years, or let's just say 6 years, the past regime. Whether first 1 year, you cannot tell me anything that brother did not perform to the needs of the Labrador people. They use 0. So I think sometimes he said when a child or a children is just like to them, and then they follow it. So anything you tell your child, they will follow it. So you get out of the discourse and come to the Labrador people like it. Because they don't do anything. They go along. You have men that instigated mentioning.
Okay.
The reason for which he supported because your vice doesn't understand. But because he out of the place so you want to play against, we don't care. But let's come make progress. So
okay.
You shouldn't like the Labrador people.
Thank you so much. Let's close up on the course now and wrap up. Gentlemen, at this point, I really need you people to do me justice by managing the time. In fact, we violated the institution's policy just to ensure that at least you guys thoughts can go through.
Continuation of the violation. Let me just ask
a continuation of the violation.
yeah. Let me just ask Otavi one question, right? Without the issue of Speaker Kofa or the House crisis, the tenure position, the issue of the Ozevo, you have rated the government performance within the rule of law sector as 0.
Well, Kanema, let me say to you.
Like, could that just be a yes or no?
No. Why you do that remote control? There's a pang pong. Where you go, my dad? Listen to me. And listen to me very carefully.
Let me take the president's question to you, and then you use it to close up. So I'll give you 1 minute 30 seconds.
So you want me to close up right now?
Yes.
I'm a party comment.
Yes, everything.
I'm going to say again. I need not to go to Google to define Liberian problems. I go to the trenches. I talk to the people. And my brother from the youth.
Would you have rated the government 0 rule of law?
Keep me talking theory and don't talk practical. And that is why we are good as Liberians. We talk theory instead of talking practical. The things are happening to the common man in political life. We brought Unity Party to power because CDC was not performing. So it is not anything for you to post all that. The essence of you coming is to work. It's not for you to fool your hand.
You've not addressed
and you have not worked. And we're telling you have to work. And you knocking your chest that you're working, it's okay. I'm not participating with the party. I'm not participating with the CDC. One day I hear about Liberian, they're not fools. They're not talking now. At the appropriate time, and your own ring go in. The other one might be so. So let's go ahead and theoreticalize the people's lives. And they're going to bed with hunger and believing that the right thing we're doing. It's okay.
Thank you so
much.
much.
But one day I can say prosperity will judge us. And that is where we are.
Thank you so much. Let's turn his mic off. Otavin is done. and you can't walk out. You got to sit down. So yeah, Jusu, you have 1 million as well.
We'll be around, and
what does that mean? We'll be around
to combat some of these falsification and, if you like, disinformation and misinformation that people are attempting to feed the Liberian people with. We'll be around. We'll make clarity. All in our life, it has been about the Liberian people. We came on this platform today. We alluded to the challenges that the government have. We said to the Liberian people, even the president of the country has owed on to these challenges. The president is not negating the responsibility, his responsibility to the state. He is not negating his responsibility as the Constitution says and asks the Liberian people voted him for. The president has not said that he has made abroad or Dubai or a paradox in a year time. The president has alluded to the fact that there are challenges, and he has renewed his, if you like, commitment to ensuring that these challenges can be tackled heads on. So what I'm trying to say is that, Otavi, you listen to the masses of the Liberian people who give their own perspective of the show through the calls. Okay. It discredits you, and it said to you that you that sit on the platform and saying that they are not fools. They are saying to you that they analyze, they understand better for themselves, and you cannot make fool out of them. Okay, this is why they demonstrated to you this morning.
Okay. Thank you so much. He's Jusu Kamara. He's the youth wing spokesperson, the spokesperson of the Unity Party Youth Wing. Mr. President, 1 minute as well.
Well, much is desire of the Boka administration in terms of governing better to move the country forwards. Like the other quarter said, I think the third quarter, Rogers, maybe I may get the name wrong. Right. Inflation rate has reduced. That is correct, right? But then he struck an important point: the relationship or the correlation.
It's not connecting with the reality on the ground.
With the exchange rate, right? So the rate of inflation is different than the rate in terms of the exchange rate. Right. They are two different things, right? Although they could be affecting one another in some direction. So one thing the Boka administration has said, if you read the AARD, is that they want to de-dollarize the economy. De-dollarize meaning that we should remove ourselves from this sort of a dual currency regime to a single currency regime, right? So this is what all of us now will have to look at between January of this year and at the end of December 2025, to know that some of these specific issues that the government wants to address, whether they address it. But the first year, like some people will say, it's a year of trials and errors to know, because by that time the framework that we have of governance, the agenda was not really in shape, and so you can't practically. But like I said, and I maintain, the government has brought some level of predictability within our national governance architecture. There are issues. The tenure position, all of us will criticize it. The issue of the DDoS server, if it had not happened in January of this year, Otavi would not have rated the government zero, for instance.
In the rule of law.
I mean, because he did not answer the question. So we have to be careful in our analysis, right? We have to be specific. That's why I've been specific on certain issues, and those are my perspectives.
Thank you so much. He's the president. I must say, you folks, it was a very interesting conversation, and I enjoyed it as the host. I'm very sure you too did. You took off time to listen to these great minds, elaborating on issues of national concern. We had in the studio the Youth Wing chair, spokesperson of the Unity Party, Mr. Jusu Kamara. Along with Mr. Kamara was the president of Liberia, Mr. Julius Kanaba, and the publisher of the Nation Times newspaper, and one-time former vice president of the president of Liberia, Mr. Octavian Williams. My name is Matthias Labindi. The program is always produced by Michael Bayo. We'll be here again tomorrow with another fascinating edition of the program.